From weekend getaways to extended road trips, California is full of places to explore. And for over 100 years, the Auto Club has been there to help. Our travel agents offer you expertise regarding destination information, trip planning and reservations, either in office, on the phone, or online. Across the state, throughout the country, or around the world, through all life's travels, we're always with you.
Road Trip has been made possible by the Automobile Club of Southern California.
Well, hello everybody, I'm Hugh Hauser, and here we are in front of one of these absolutely beautiful historic missions. And you know, we all are aware of how important the missions were to the political, the economic, the social history of early California. Fact is, though, this is not a California mission. This is an Arizona mission. In fact, we are now in Tucson, Arizona, and to find out just a little bit about the history of this beautiful old mission, Father Stephen has agreed to meet up with us and tell us a little bit about this one, because this goes back further than any of our California missions does.
Well, that's true, and welcome to San Xavier Mission. We are outside of Tucson on the Tohono O'odham Reservation. And this mission, the actual foundation of the mission, was in 1692 by the Jesuit explorer Father Kino. Father Kino founded a whole string of missions from Sonora, Mexico, and this is the northernmost in the chain of missions.
And this mission was here, I think you said, almost 77 years before the first mission in present-day California was founded back in San Diego.
That's correct, yes. I mean, founded in 1692, and of course San Diego was founded in 1769, so the foundation is earlier.
And how would you describe this architecture? Because this is a little different from anything I've ever seen in California.
That's true, and again, when the Franciscans did come to take the place of the Jesuits who founded the mission, they wanted to build a beautiful church. And it was at the end of kind of the Baroque period in Europe. And so this is a building that has Moorish and Mexican and also Spanish Baroque added all together.
It's got a little bit of everything in it.
Oh, wait till you see inside.
Really?
Inside you'll see the Baroque hand at work.
Well, I'm sorry that we're here with all this scaffolding up, but this also is a work in progress, isn't it?
It certainly is, and in fact, the scaffolding itself is a constructional feat.
But I mean, this is going to be going on for a while.
It surely is. Over the years, the fired adobe bricks have been compromised and they have to be replaced. And then the lime plaster, people had patched with cement. Well, that doesn't work with adobe, and so the plaster now is made with prickly pear cactus. You'll see some of that out there.
Oh, wow.
They cook it up, add some fine sand to it and some lime, and it makes a very elastic plaster. Which will cover the mission.
You know, looking down here at these bells up here, now this reminds me of a California mission down here with the bells.
Yes, that would be a later addition, and it was called the mortuary chapel, where bodies would be held overnight until the funeral the next day.
Yeah.
And they would do wake services and so forth in there.
Well, this definitely says Arizona. Here's your sororo cactus right here.
That's right. And the flat one is the prickly pear, which they cook up for the plaster.
Wow, this is absolutely beautiful. The name of it again is?
San Xavier.
And it exists right here in the middle of an Indian reservation.
That's true. We're in one of the districts of the Tohono O'odham Reservation, which is a large reservation. And it's an active parish for the Native Americans who live here, and many other pilgrims and tourists who come.
Do you get a lot of Californians coming through here comparing this mission with our missions in California?
We get a lot of Californians, but there's no comparison.
Oh, we don't want to get into that argument here. They're all beautiful missions.
I know.
All right, are we going to go inside and take a look inside?
Why, certainly.
Let's go inside and take a look at what you say is very Baroque.
Oh, yes.
We are inside this absolutely spectacular mission, and I've got to tell you, you're right. I've not seen anything quite like this before.
Well, it is unique. It's like at the end of the Baroque period, and so Baroque to me means cram as much as you can in and have fun with it.
Well, now
and so if you look at there's different things here that are kind of fun. There's curtains being opened up by angels. There's all kinds of carvings and images and paintings.
Now, would this have been all done in Spain and brought over here, or where was this done?
Some of the statuary was probably done in Spain or in Mexico and brought here in pieces, but the actual painting and molding of the interior was all done here by artisans from Mexico, Spain, and also some of the local natives who helped.
This is amazing that this has stood up like this all of these years.
Well, it's taken some restoration over the years. In the 1990s, a crew began to finally clean the artwork, which brought out the bright colors again. Because they had been covered by dirt and smoke and so forth.
Well, 250 years worth of life.
That's right. So
this has been an active church all this time.
So this interior restoration is just maybe 10 years old, so you're seeing it in pretty good shape now.
Thank you for bringing us to this beautiful, beautiful place. As we leave, let's just take one look over here. And again, Father, the name of this mission is?
San Xavier. It's named after St. Francis Xavier. That would be the statue in the middle of the front wall there. And he was a Jesuit missionary to China and Japan and India.
And the foundation was laid in?
1692. And this building was begun in 1783, and it took 14 years to build.
We're back out in front of this beautiful mission, and you know, we just arrived in Arizona, and boy, almost the first people we met are Californians.
That's right.
Where are you all from in California?
Mission Viejo, California.
Mission Viejo, and this is which family is this?
This is the Rizek family.
The Rizek family. Now, why are you here in Tucson?
Well, we came here actually for Easter. My wife's parents live here, and my kids wanted to see their cousins, and we both actually went to the University of Arizona.
Which is here in Tucson.
Which is here in Tucson. So we wanted to have the kids see the mission, beautiful one as much as the ones we have in California.
Absolutely. So. This is a spectacular mission.
Yeah, it certainly is. Yeah, it's beautiful.
And the other question you asked me was?
What brings you up here? We always watch you in California.
What am I doing in California? Good question. Because we don't usually leave California, but I was reading a travel book the other day, and it had some of the neatest places to visit in Tucson.
Yes.
Starting with this mission, which I wanted to see, but the other places we're going to visit are they have to do with very recent history. Both of them are historical within the last 50 years.
Oh.
Do you have any idea? Don't say it. Don't give it away if you think you know where we're going. But we're going to go to two places here in Tucson that are very historic, but it's recent history. Doesn't go nearly as far back as this.
True, yes. I know at least a place.
You think you know at least one of the two places?
Yes.
When you get back to Mission Viejo, you can watch this program and see if because we're not going to tell you where we're going.
Okay,
all I can tell everybody is that we're here in Tucson. It's a beautiful Monday. We're going to stay Monday and Tuesday and then head back to California where we belong.
Fantastic.
But while we're here in Tucson, we're going to have a wonderful time, and we want to invite everybody out there watching, as usual, to join us on this adventure. We're all in Tucson, Arizona on a road trip. Well, I can't tell you how excited I was as we were heading through the Arizona desert just outside Tucson on the way to our next stop. It was a place I've always wanted to visit, and I wasn't disappointed. Okay, we have left the mission, and the next stop on our Tucson road trip brings us actually about 20 miles south of Tucson, out here in the middle of the desert. At first glance, doesn't look like very much out here. There's a chain link fence. Gets a little more complicated right over here, and then there's something back in there. It says, warning, U.S. Air Force installation. But since 1994, this has been a National Historic Landmark, right, Yvonne?
That's exactly right.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet
You're
you.
going to be our guide today, and she knows what she's talking about, and we'll explain that in just a minute. How could this be, at first glance, this does not look like a National Historic Landmark. What are we looking at, Yvonne?
Well, that's right. That's because you're looking at what's left of an operational Titan II missile site, most of which is underground.
A Titan missile site. Now, at one time, I'm a child of the Cold War, so I remember all of this, and I studied up on my missiles back then. I was fascinated by them. There were a lot of these underground missile sites around America, weren't there?
That's right. We had 54 Titan II missile sites that were located in groups of 18 in Wichita, Kansas, Little Rock, Arkansas, and then here in Tucson, Arizona.
So there were 18 of these things out here. And you were telling me before we cranked up the cameras what was interesting about these Titan missile sites. And this is exactly the way it would have looked, right?
Right, except for the fact that when you drove up to this gate, you wouldn't have seen most of the equipment that we have topside. That's because what we're trying to show our visitors is all of the equipment that it took to keep the site running for 24 years.
So if we had come here back, what, in the 60s, 70s?
60s, 70s, 80s until 1984.
All we would have seen was this fence with this sign saying it's unlawful to go inside.
That's right, and through the fence you would have seen that big cream-colored thing there, which is the silo closure door that covers the launch duct.
Well, let's go in.
Okay.
Now this isn't, you wouldn't have been able to walk through like this.
Nope.
You
would have
opened
had
this
to
gate up
use-
for us.
You would have had to use that phone right there, and you would have had to ask the crew in the control center for permission to come on the site.
Okay, so we're now on the Titan missile site. And you said none of this equipment would have been here then. This is just part of the museum now.
Right?
Just this piece of concrete
Right.
up here.
760 tons of steel and reinforced concrete.
All right, now, I guess we should give it away right now as to why you know so much about what you're talking about.
Well, that's because I'm a former crew commander, actually stationed at this site from 1980 to 1984.
So you were here during the last days.
Right. I was here when the 390th Strategic Missile Wing, that's the wing that operated this site, had the dual mission of maintaining half of its missiles ready to launch while it deactivated the other half.
Wow. And these were nuclear missiles, too. These were some of the biggest warheads in the American arsenal, weren't they?
That's exactly right. They're the largest of the nuclear warheads that we ever deployed on a land-based missile.
Did the people of Tucson even know this was out here, really? I mean, it was out in the middle of nowhere.
You know, there are two answers to that question. The Air Force didn't really attempt to hide these sites because that was part of their operational mystique. Part of their mission was to be visible so that the former Soviet Union would know what the capabilities were of the Air Force at that time. On the other hand, we didn't advertise the fact that they were here to the local residents, but any local resident who lived close to a missile site, it didn't take them long to figure out.
Well, yeah, you had a big thing, a chain link fence.
That's right.
But this whole area wasn't really that big. How big an area are we talking?
This is 3 acres within the fence. The missile site itself is a pie shape of about 9.9 acres.
With missiles interspersed?
Just one.
Just one missile. And then you had 18 total.
All around Tucson.
Wow. So wait a minute. This is it?
This is it.
All right, here it is, access portal, primary and only safe entry and exit route to or from the underground facilities. So we are now going down, look at this. We are now going down into, do you call it a silo?
Yes.
Into the silo. Okay, we have just come inside the door at the bottom of the stairs there. We are inside, we've just come inside the silo and we're already entrapped.
That's right.
Yvonne.
We're standing in the entrapment area. We're being monitored by a closed circuit camera giving live feed to the control center. And then the folks in the control center, the crew that's on duty down there, is going to watch, if this were actual, would watch us code in on this phone.
So I have to code in, I have to say...
You have to give the correct code for the day, which
so
I can't tell you.
Oh,
or I'd have to kill you.
All right, so we give the code. They're looking at us at the same time to make sure we're okay.
Right. They're looking to make sure that, first of all, you should be the only person standing right
Yeah.
here.
Then if they give you the okay...
You go down the steps.
Then they unlock this door, which until that point had been closed and locked.
That's exactly right.
And then we began our journey down. How many feet down?
We're going to go 35 feet underground to level 2 of the site.
So this just goes, these little steps we're going down now just go straight down for 35 feet. And that gets us to what you call the first level.
The blast lock area.
The blast lock area. And this whole thing is solid steel and concrete.
Right, but believe it or not, this is not the hardened portion of the site. You don't hit the hardened portion of the site until you enter the blast lock area.
Wow. And by the hardened part of the site, you mean the part that was so hardened that it could have withstood an enemy nuclear attack that was sending a missile over to destroy our missiles?
Yes, but it wouldn't have withstood a direct hit. We could ride out a nearby nuclear strike, but we couldn't have taken a direct hit.
Wow, I guess nothing can withstand a direct hit. This looks pretty secure to me already.
That's right. Regular industrial standards, it's very sturdy, but from this point on...
Oh my gosh! I feel like, look, this is like a bank vault door.
There are 4 of that one's welded in place for the fire marshal, but this one moves.
Whoa! Look.
Is 6,000 pounds of...
Can I pull it?
Yes, you can, but not very far. We've tethered it down so that it won't go any way.
Look at this.
This weighs 6,000 pounds. It's constructed of steel I-beams welded edge to edge.
And this protected this area right here? What was in here?
Well, it's like an airlock on a submarine, okay? You've got that blast door, this blast door, and that one right there. 3 blast doors between the control center and the environment.
Wow.
Going the other way, we have another blast door, the silo, so there are 3 blast doors between the silo.
Boy, when you were down here, you were... Oh, look! What is this?
This is the long cableway, leads directly to the silo.
Wow, so this looks like something from a space movie.
Space movies have been filmed here.
Really?
Star Trek First Contact was filmed here.
Really? Because
Yes.
look, it looks like we're going right down one of those interlocking rooms
That's right.
inside a spaceship.
This
And
is-
this takes you down to the missile.
That's
But
exactly
we don't
right.
want to go to the missile first, do we?
No, we want to go in the control center first.
Next to the missile itself, the Titan II missile itself, this is the most exciting part of the tour because look where we are right now. And Yvonne, this is literally the control room. This is where you were working for a couple of years.
That's
That was
right.
your seat?
This is my duty
Have a
station.
seat. This is your duty station right there. So you would sit right here and look at all of this. I don't know what all of this is, but you knew what it was when you were looking at it.
That's right. All of this equipment is giving the crew a bird's eye view of what's going on around the missile site. From here, they know the status of the missile.
All right, now there's a lot of equipment down here, and it's got kind of that 60s, 70s kind of feel to it.
That wonderful seafoam green paint that was supposed to be soothing. Yes.
And The equipment looks kind of 60s, 70s as well.
That's right. Most of it was installed in the early 1960s and upgraded in place over the lifetime of the missile.
All right, now let's set the stage. There were how many of you in this room?
4 people on a crew, 2 officers and 2 enlisted folks.
And you would have been sitting right here.
Right.
And you would have been doing the paperwork and looking at all of this. And is that the red button right there that you would have pushed to start World War III?
Well, you know, there is no red button. It's actually a key. A key is what you use to launch the Titan II missile.
Put your hand up there.
Right there.
And let's debunk, so we've already debunked that there was a hand on the button, a finger
right.
on the button. Let's debunk the theory that a crazy person down here could launch the missile on them, you know, by themselves.
Well, you know, I'm not going to say that it was completely impossible, because nothing's impossible, but it was practically impossible to do that on your own. There were fail-safe devices employed that would prevent one person from being able to launch the missile. We had one fail-safe device that was on the missile itself, and then we had other fail-safe devices that were built into the procedures to launch the missile. I have to turn my key at the same time my deputy crew commander turns his key. They're too far apart for me to turn both keys at the same time.
And you have to get a secret code given to you from outside the missile site.
That's going to be embedded in our launch orders, and that's going to unlock the fail-safe device on the missile.
So there really was, this thing was fail-safe to as much a degree as you could possibly
That's
make
right.
it.
There was, in the 1980s, we didn't have the technology that you could just hook a computer up and hack the code. It just didn't work that way.
And what was it like? Come on, let's walk around a little bit. What was it like being down here? How long would you have to be down here at a time?
Well, you're down here for about 24 hours at a time.
So what'd you do down here? You didn't sit there and look at launch control the whole time.
No, not the whole time. I mean, we had 9 stories of equipment that we had to inspect every day. That took about 4 hours. And then what's missing from the area right behind you is probably the most important piece of equipment on the site for the crews.
What, right here?
Yep, that was our television.
You had a television
Yes,
set down here.
We had a television set.
And you had bunk beds.
We had upstairs, we had bunk beds.
Little kitchen.
Had a little kitchen,
bathroom.
little bathroom.
But you were basically, once you came down here, you were sealed off from the outside
That's right.
world, weren't you?
That's right, we were completely sealed off. Do you want to see what we were down here to do?
Yeah.
Well, we can go through the launch sequence. You want to see it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
Well, because we're a museum, only one of us has to turn the key.
All right.
So,
Wow, this is exciting.
that's going to be me. What we're going to see now in 58 seconds, which was the time of the launch sequence from key turn to liftoff. So this goes through the launch sequence in real time. What you have now is a lot of technical stuff happening. You've got some batteries on board the missile that are being charged with electrolytes. We're pumping water into the bottom of the launch duct so that when the stage 1 engine fires, the heat's going to interact with the water. It's going to make steam. It's going to let the missile safely launch out of the launch duct without vibrating itself to pieces. The thrust mount ring that the missile sits on, that protects it on a daily basis.
Wait a minute, what was that?
That's our burglar alarm.
The burglar alarm? That scared me.
That's the Tipsy's alarming because the silo closure door is opening and it's penetrating the space upstairs that's protected by our Tipsy's. Now, we've got
Well,
fire
that's a sound you don't want to hear.
No, that's a sound you don't want to hear. That means that the engine is fired, and then 5 seconds later you get liftoff.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, turn keys. Launch enable. Batteries activated. Release. Waiting amps power. SR, silent soft. Guides go. Waiting fire engine. Fire engine.
Should you be able to feel that vibration in
Nope.
here?
You're not going to feel it here. And the way we know that is the test launches that were conducted at Vandenberg Air Force Base on missile sites that are set up identical to this. The crews never knew. All they had were the
These
indications from the, they would be calling the observers going, did she go? Did she go? Because they couldn't feel a thing. This is one of 8 springs all around the control center. All 3 floors of the control center hang from these springs. There's a rattle space around the control center that's 11 inches wide. We walked over a little bridge when we came into the control center, and that's how we traversed it. So working together, all 3 floors can bounce up and down 18 inches, and we can swing side to side 11 inches, and that provides shock isolation for everything in the control center, including the crew.
And that shock isolation you're talking about is in case an enemy nuclear device went off up on top, trying to destroy this place. This whole room could bounce up and down up to 18 inches.
That's exactly right.
And you'd still survive.
And we'd still survive.
Wow. But let's point out, no missile was ever launched in anger from our country or from any other country.
That's right. None of the Titan IIs were ever launched in anger. None of the Minuteman IIIs that are currently on alert have ever been launched from an operational site. All of our launches have been test launches.
And nothing from the former Soviet Union was ever launched.
That's exactly right. And because if the opposite were true, if there had been a launch in anger, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
Okay, we are now walking through this amazing, I love this hallway here, or whatever passageway.
It's called the Long Cableway.
The Long Cableway, and this takes us from the control room
down to level 2 of the silo. It's where it's the only entry point for the silo.
So the only way you could get to the silo from the control room or anywhere else was to come down this passageway right here.
That's exactly right.
So this was, I don't see any big doors here.
No, we've come through all the blast doors. The idea is if you get past the blast doors that are behind us, that's all the protection and security that we need.
So we are in the inner sanctum right here. This is
level 2.
Is that the missile?
That's it right there.
Oh, look. Oh, you got plexiglass here. This is the top of the missile right here.
That's right.
And who are these guys out here?
Those are Roberta and Charlie.
Uh-huh.
And they're demonstrating the end of a propellant operation. That's why they're wearing the rubber suits. Those are rocket fuel handler clothing outfits.
Now, is this the way it actually would have been? You would have been able to walk right out here?
Right. When the site was operational, this door here would have been closed. And all of the platforms, Roberta and Charlie are standing on some platforms. Those would have been retracted against the wall.
And the missile would have just come, but there's a lot of the missile even below this.
That's right, there's about 100 feet of the missile below us.
Well, so we're just at the top of the missile here.
We're just at the top. There's a lot more to see.
Now we're doing something very interesting. We're on the elevator. We have left level 2, now it's level 3, now it's level 4. You're taking us down to the very bottom of the silo.
Almost to the bottom. I'm taking you down to level 7, which is a tour that we offer to the public once a month, first Saturday of every month.
Now, each one of these levels we're passing by, you all could have gotten out and worked on the missile at these different levels, right?
That's right. There's 6 levels between where we were and where we're going.
Boy, this is a deep hole in the ground.
146 feet deep.
Wow, look at this. Okay, we're now at level 7, and we're getting ready to get out. Oh my gosh. Oh boy. Ha! We're at the bottom of the silo right now.
Just about.
Oh.
Come on in, watch your head.
Look at. Oh! Look!
This big silver thing is the thrust mount ring. The missile is sitting on the thrust mount ring. The thrust mount ring is mounted to the walls of the launch duct with these springs that are 4 springs that are each 3 stories tall.
Now wait a minute. Is it safe to walk out here?
Yes, you can walk out here.
And is this where the?
This is where the stage 1 engine would have been.
All
but
the
it's,
flames would have come out of here.
The flames would have been coming out. They would have gone into the deflector below us. we would have been pumping water into the deflector below us so that the water and the flame would interact and make steam.
You like all this technical
Yeah,
talk.
I do.
She's still technical in all this. And look, here's the side of the bottom of the silo, which is interesting itself with all this. Of course, if a missile ever took off from in here, this would all be singed
Slag.
beyond recognition, right?
Yes, these were designed for one-time use.
And we can go all the way around. Watch your step,
Yep.
Cameron. We're in the bottom of a missile silo. I'm not sure what the etiquette is for walking around this thing.
Watch your head, watch your feet.
Boy, this is... Here, we can stand up right here.
Yep.
Boy, this is just... There's so much to see. This is such a sight for the eyes, and just to kind of be here and look up this huge missile silo up to the top. And was this missile always just kind of sitting here ready to go? How long would it take to get this thing ready to launch?
58 seconds.
The 58 seconds we went through in the control room.
That's exactly right, because it's sitting in the launch duct. The warhead is loaded, the propellant is loaded. All we have to do is turn the keys.
This thing was ready to go in
Just like
58
that.
seconds.
58 seconds.
And it sat here like this. These missiles sat here like this for 20 years.
That's right. 1963 to 1982 for this particular site.
Liftoff, liftoff.
Okay, now we're back topside, and boy, now after getting the tour down below, you begin to have a real appreciation of this, because if you didn't know what you were looking at, you wouldn't even know it was here, which of course is what the government wanted anyway, wasn't it?
That's exactly right. It's like an iceberg. Only less than 10% is actually above ground.
Yeah, I don't think you got 10% here. This is, you wouldn't know. It just looks like a big concrete slab.
That's exactly right.
Now, one time there were 18 of these right here in the Tucson area.
Right.
This is the only one that remains.
That's exactly right. And it's actually one of only 2 missile sites in the entire world that have been preserved for the benefit of the public. The other one is a Minuteman II site that's run by the National Park Service up in the Badlands in Dakotas.
So this is the only Titan missile site. What did they do, blow up all the others or fill them in with concrete?
That's right. They blew off the top 30 feet of the launch duct and then backfilled it into the bottom of the launch duct. Then they cut that big silo closure door up into little bitty pieces, pushed that in, blew it all up, paved over the top.
Wow, so you'd never even know they were there.
That's right. They've built churches on them.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, they auctioned off all the sites, and you don't know what you've got.
Now, is this still a government site? Is this still run by the Air Force?
The Air Force owns the site, but they don't run it. They lease it to Pima County, and Pima County leases it to the Arizona Aerospace Foundation.
That's what you're all about.
That's right.
You've
That's
got
what we're all
a
about.
museum over here, which is full of interesting stuff. You've got the site itself here. Look at these mountains. What a beautiful...
I've got the best view of anybody in the world from my office window.
You know, these missile sites were placed in beautiful places all around the country.
That's right. Kansas and Little Rock.
Well,
Define beauty.
well, exactly. But of course, you couldn't see the beauty because you were down under
That's
anyway.
right. It didn't matter to us.
Well, this has been absolutely wonderful. I have
pleasure.
been wanting to visit one of these places since I was a kid growing up in Tennessee. There's something about the mystique and the lore of all this. I imagine you get people from all over the world, don't you?
We
How many
do.
people come here?
We get about 50,000 people a year, and I'm hoping your show is going to expand that.
Well, hopefully it will too, because this really introduces you to a bit of Cold War history. You don't have to buy into the one side or the other or any of that. The fact is, this existed.
That's right.
This is part of our history.
That's right. And from the museum perspective, we take a real neutral stance on that. You know, we talk about the technology, we talk about the factual things that happened. So regardless of which side of the argument you're on, you can still enjoy this.
Well, it's here. It's the exact name of it is?
This is the Titan Missile Museum, home of the Titan Missile National Historic Landmark.
National Historic Landmark. It is here to remind all of us of a chapter in our country's, actually in our world's history. Nothing ever was fired in anger from these sites.
That's exactly right.
But they are here for all of us to see and enjoy.
That's right, to learn.
Thank you for the tour.
You're welcome. I enjoyed it.
This
Come
has
back and see
been,
us
I got to
again.
tell you, I've been to a lot of places. This is worth the trip out here just to see this. It is truly amazing. All right, this is all by the seat of our pants. We've come out to dinner tonight. The people at the hotel recommended we come to the restaurant right here. The name of it is?
El Menudo.
We just ran into you coming out, and we asked you if this was a good local place, and what did you tell us?
It's the best. And it's right across from where I work. This is our lunchroom.
Which is?
The Tucson Convention Center.
So you work for the convention center.
Absolutely.
You recommend this place.
Can't do any better.
This is you're the owner.
Right.
Your name is?
Rosalba.
And you've owned this place for?
Well, I've been holding it's been for a long, long time, but I haven't since 79.
All right.
It's been in the family since more than 60 years.
60 years.
Yeah.
And you're another local.
Dr. Goldman, I came here to get food to take home.
What are you taking home? Can we peek?
Dr. Goldman's food's
Can we
cold.
You can take a look at it. It's a cheese quesadilla.
Oh my gosh. Look at that. So this, I think we've hit the jackpot.
You got it, man. Here's my chimichanga and my albondigas, right.
So we've come to the right place.
You got it, man.
And what was it you told me to be sure and get here that they don't have in L.A.?
Carne seca.
Dry beef, carne seca.
Carne seca. And why wouldn't we have that in L.A.?
Well, I don't know why you don't. It's fabulous.
Oh.
But when I moved here from San Diego, it's the first thing I discovered about the Mexican foods here.
So we've come to the right place.
You got it, buddy.
And you're going...
I'm taking this home to eat.
And we're going inside to
he's
eat.
going to leave because
Very
it's going
cool.
to get cold.
Go ahead
Nice
inside
to meet
eat.
you.
Good meeting you.
All right, come on, we're going inside here with the owner. Goodbye, nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Come on, let's get going. Okay, here comes Oscar with our food. And what have we got here for dinner? What have you fixed
This is
up for?
chile relleno. It stuffs the chili, green chili.
This is, what is
This
this?
combination play, very popular.
And what is this?
It's a beef tamal. It's a beef tamal, ground beef taco, perin taco, refried beans, and a cheese enchilada with the sauce.
Now, what is this you brought us over here?
This is green chili con carne.
Green chili. And
Green
what do we
chili.
do? Get a tortilla and put that on it?
Make your little burritos if you want to. And this is the red chili con carne.
Okay, and this is what he recommended.
This is the carne seca, dry beef. This is the real carne seca. This is dry beef.
Now, is this from this section of I mean,
Yeah,
what
they're
makes,
from Sonora.
from
the carne
Sonora.
seca. Right.
And what about the?
And this is you have to cut them, hang it for 3-4 days, and put them in the oven, and then put them in really, really hot water and make it in a machine to straighten.
So is this from?
Oh, this is a margarita.
I know what that is. I know what that is. Now, do you have a lot of people come here from Los Angeles when they come to?
They come from all over.
And I've seen the pictures on the wall of your restaurant. You started out with just a little storefront thing years and years ago.
Years ago.
Then you moved here into a little place, and then you
In the
remodeled
40s,
and made a bigger place. So this is a real success story here.
Yeah, thank God, it's been good.
The name of the place is?
El Minuto Café.
And your name is?
Rosalba.
You're the owner.
I'm the owner.
Your son works here as well.
All the family works here. My 4 kids and my grandkids too.
So this is a family
restaurant, right?
Authentic.
Authentic Mexican food and authentic Mexican.
And your
kids.
name again is?
My name is Oscar.
Oscar. And Oscar, you've been here how long?
Oh my God.
Oh, for many years.
Many years.
I don't know.
Probably about
30,
20
40.
years too.
So for all of our friends in California who are visiting, going to visit Tucson, they would be welcome here.
Okay, just tell them that they hear you, that you were here.
Yeah.
Visiting us and.
Yeah, stop by. And leave this guy a good tip. He deserves it. And the margaritas, I can vouch for them because this is my second.
Uh-oh.
They're good too. We're going to have a wonderful meal. If you can't enjoy a meal like this, served in a family restaurant like this, there's something wrong with you. This is truly authentic Tucson. I think we hit the jackpot. Well, day 2 of our road trip to Tucson, Arizona, and to be honest with you, I didn't think it could get any better than being able to visit that Titan II missile silo yesterday. But today we're going to do something that I've been wanting to do since I was a small boy. I've been reading about this place, seeing pictures of it, and finally I am here. Look at this. Airplanes as far as you can see in all directions. Hundreds, thousands of airplanes. Terry, you're our guide. Tell us exactly where we are.
Well, this is AMARC, Aerospace Maintenance and Regeneration Center.
Now that sounds very technical. I've always known it and read about it as the airplane boneyard, the graveyard for old airplanes. Is that what you're used to hearing people call it?
We hear it all the time. That's our term of endearment.
All right, now what exactly are we looking at here? Because we've already kind of driven around this place this morning. It's impossible to go to any one place and get a perspective because this is a huge installation. Give us some facts and figures about what's here and how big this place is.
I'd be happy to. This is a 2,600-acre installation on Davis-Monthan Air Force Base, Tucson, Arizona. There's over 70 different types of mission design series here, commonly known as MDSs. Airframes from the Navy, Army, Air Force, Marines. We have all the centers here represented.
Is this where old airplanes come to die?
Not exactly. In some cases, this is a valuable parts source for different types of the older airframes. A lot of these military platforms are aging now, and we become a mainstay or a stopgap as far as parts support goes to keep these operational.
Now, why do planes come here? Why do they come to Tucson? It has to do with the weather, doesn't it, with the humidity?
It sure does. After World War II, this installation was established to store excess military aircraft, B-29s, C-47s. There's a very hard caliche-based platform here in the desert floor. It precludes us from pouring tarmacs or parking ramps.
So they're just parked right on the dirt.
Exactly. It's a caliche-based platform underneath. The soil is very hard. Low humidity, maybe 11 to 12 inches of rainfall a year.
So this is a perfect place for an airplane boneyard. And boy, look at all these. I mean, how do you decide what comes here and, how long it stays here?
Well, that's all decided at a higher level, headquarters. At the Pentagon, they decide which airframes they still want to keep in the active duty force. Sometimes it's driven by budget, sometimes it's driven by a replacement aircraft that comes on board and they decide to retire that airframe.
You mean if a better plane, a faster plane comes along, they replace the existing plane and bring them all out here?
Modern technology sometimes replaces our current resources. So yes, they do decide to retire them. They bring them into AMARC. A lot of times, many of these aircraft are regenerated for flight as well. They don't just sit in the desert and rot. And of course, I mentioned that they are a parts resource to keep those operational fleets up in the air.
Boy, look at this. How do you decide where they're going to be placed? Because they look so good sitting out here. This is like a work of art looking at this.
It is. It's very visual, very beautiful from the air. It's almost surrealistic from the air. We do have a parking plan, and we have a team that comes out and does the actual measurements.
Oh, look down here. This is just, I hope the camera can get the sense of grandeur of this, of all of these planes parked here in a row. What are we looking at over here? I should know my aviation history well enough to know what these are.
These aircraft are the F-4 Phantoms.
And what is this? What is this coating that's been put on?
Well, this is a protective coating. Initially, these planes probably came into an inviolate type of storage. It's called Type 1000. This is a sprayed-on latex, or Spraylat is the proper name for it. And we do purchase this out of Michigan. A company in Michigan produces this for us. It's almost like the cool coat that they use on their roofs here in the summer.
So what does it do? Just totally protects this part of the airplane?
Well, the actual white keeps it within 15 to 20 degrees of ambient temperature inside the cockpit, so the internal components aren't destroyed in the heat.
So this plane, if it had to fly again, could these planes fly again?
Well, these particular aircraft have come down in their level of storage. These are actually on hold for parts. So these particular aircraft are not in the queue to ever fly again.
So there are different categories out here.
Yes, there are.
Like what?
Type 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Well, what does that mean?
Type 1000 is an inviolate type of storage. This is where more than likely these planes will be regenerated, either for our allies or for our operational fleets. Type 2000 are the planes that are going to be a valuable parts resource. Sometimes these parts aren't available anywhere else other than being remanufactured. Type 3000 is a flyable hold where every 90 days we'll run the engines up on those aircraft, and they've been earmarked for maybe 4 military sales or a quick turnaround from storage. Type 4000 are a lot of the planes that we've been looking at in this particular area. These are excess to any of the services requirements.
Yeah, because look here, look, you can look inside this plane. So they might actually take some of this out of the plane and use these parts again somehow or another.
Oh, exactly. These are still viable assets to the services that own them.
I recognize this. This is an old, well, part of an old B-52.
This is a B-52G. And probably a late 1950s model.
So you can tell that by just looking at them.
Well, I can...
That's what you do. And look at this one over here. This is a B-52?
Exactly. Another B-52. This is a remnant from Desert Storm, Desert Shield.
So why is it here? Why is it torn apart like this?
Well, these B-52s are all G models, and they were placed into storage under the Strategic Arms Reduction Treaty.
What do you mean?
Well, there was a treaty with the Commonwealth of Independent States, formerly some of the Russian states, where we had to reduce armament on both sides. And our B-52s fell under that.
So these were cut up to be part of an arms reduction treaty.
Exactly.
And brought here.
They were brought here first. A majority of these were actually flown in, taxied onto the runway base side, and then put into storage.
And will they just, boy, this is kind of sad standing here. It's something kind of sad about looking at a once grand old airplane and seeing it like this.
Well, they appear to be not in the best of shape, but then again, they're a valuable parts resource for the H models that are flying.
So this will have a new life as parts for another airplane.
Exactly.
And when do you finally just cart off the remaining hulk, whatever's left?
Eventually. we do get them down to a residual looking skeleton, and at that point we do go to the program manager and they tell us disposition of the airframe.
Now this is an interesting part of the operations here. This looks like...
This is an F-14.
This is an F-14. This is a brand new arrival of an old airplane, right?
Yes, it is.
And what are you all doing to it out here?
Right now we're removing the gun from it.
And where was the gun?
The gun is located underneath these two panels right here.
So you took the gun out?
Yes.
From here?
Yes.
We're just taking the gun out. We're prepping the jet to remove the seats, preparing it for storage.
Okay, so do you do this all the time?
All the time.
Are you used to taking these? I mean, see, to me, this would be sad.
Oh, why is that?
Well, you're taking this wonderful airplane.
Yeah.
And kind of mothballing it, kind of decommissioning it, kind of.
Right, but it's in a state of readiness. It's served its purpose, and we're putting it to bed the right way, you know? So it's not that we're, you know, just taking it out and forgetting about it. We pull them out of the desert every so often. We run the engines again. We'll make sure they're in good order. You know, like you've done for us, now we're going to put you to bed the right way. So that's what
Put you to
bed.
Put you to bed.
Yeah, yeah. Not to the graveyard. We're going to put you to bed, so because we might have to wake you up one day.
So how long will this plane, because see, this looks like it's a perfectly good airplane to me.
Yeah, yeah, yes. Yeah, it is, it is. It's
how long will it be put to bed before it's put to sleep?
Well, it depends. It depends. You know, it might be called back into service. So that's why we take good care of them here, because it's just in case someone says, hey, we need those again.
Yeah.
Then we'll put them back together. We'll put the gun back in. We'll put the seats back in. We'll put everything back together. So we're putting it to bed nice and easy. Now, years down the line, decide we're not going to use it anymore, and then we'll put it into the graveyard.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And when you're working on these planes, I know you've been doing this a long time, but when you look up here, Captain Bill Sizemore and Jose Leonos, do you ever wonder about these people and what the stories were?
A lot of times the guys, when they get done with the last flight, they'll sign the jet and they'll thank the jet. You know, and we even found in one jet, a pilot left a message to the jet, basically saying, thank you for the safe flights, thank you for, you know, the missions over Kuwait and bringing me home safe to my family. Not only I, my entire family thanks you for doing a great job. And he left a letter in the jet, you know. We happened to be pulling the seats out, we found the letter that he left in the jet.
I hope you left it in there.
Yeah, we left it in there, yeah.
Yeah, because these things, you know, on one level, they're just metal and you know, they're just a machine.
Right, right.
On another level,
they're a piece of someone's life, a piece of history, you know, so we take care of them just like that.
Well, it just keeps getting better. Each stop we have made on this road trip here in Tucson seems to be better than the last one. And right now we have come across the street from the old boneyard from the Air Force Base, and look what we're in the middle of here. This is absolutely amazing. And Dan, you're the head guy here. Introduce yourself to everybody.
Thanks, Yul. Dan Ryan, Executive Director, Arizona Aerospace Foundation and the Pima Air and Space Museum.
The Pima Air and Space Museum, we've about run out of time, but you've brought us to this part of the museum. This is a home run right here. Look what we've got right here.
Well, it really is. Yul, we call this our VIP aircraft circle, and beginning on the left, what you see is the last propeller-driven Air Force One. This was President Kennedy and President Johnson's aircraft. In the center, the Silver Constellation, that was General Eisenhower's aircraft when he was the Supreme Allied Commander. And then to the right is Freedom One. That's the aircraft that brought the hostages back from Iran in 1981 after 444 days in captivity. So we call this our VIP aircraft circle.
This is absolutely amazing to see this much history in one place, but then you've got this whole, and we're just seeing a portion. Look, it goes all the way out here. How many acres are we talking about here?
About 155 acres.
And they're just packed with airplanes.
We are almost 300 aircraft on display now. We're the third largest air museum in the United States.
Now, why Tucson? Why is all this happening in Tucson?
Well, it's a great question. Number one, as you referenced, we're across the street from the boneyard, so we can literally pull aircraft across the road. Number two, the caliche soil is so hard, it's almost like natural concrete, so you can store the aircraft on the ground. And number three, humidity is so low that there's no risk of corrosion for the aircraft.
But I mean, has there been a history of aircraft and Tucson through the years?
Yeah, the Air Force Base opened in the mid-1920s and has been active ever since. And the boneyard was established right after World War II to retire old aircraft. So I'd say that the history of aviation in Tucson goes back about 70 years.
This is amazing. I got to tell you, we have just seen the tip of this collection, but this is certainly worth a visit. You can go to the boneyard tour is part of this museum, right?
Correct. We're the DoD contractor that provides the driving tour over at AMARC. The tour is 1 hour long, it's narrated, and it leaves up to 5 times a day here depending upon the time of the season.
Before we left, I asked Dan if there were any planes in the museum that had a connection with California, and Dan, you have come up with a doozy here. What are we looking at?
Well, what you see here is the SR-71 Blackbird, built by Lockheed Skunk Works in Burbank. This was a spy plane that went operational in January of 1965, and it flew last for the CIA out of Palmdale, California.
Wait a minute, for the CIA out of Palmdale?
That's right, Huel.
And what was the CIA doing in Palmdale?
Well, that's classified information.
But I mean, was this was a spy plane?
Correct. A spy plane that flew at about 80,000 feet and about 2.5 Mach on average speed.
Boy, it looks very stealthy. That's what it is, isn't it?
Well, it really is the first truly stealth aircraft.
I'm surprised that even though it's out of commission, that the CIA would hand over something like this.
Well, we're very fortunate to have it. It's one of very few that's on display throughout the country.
All right, so it was built in Burbank.
Correct.
Flew out of Palmdale.
Correct.
Under the auspices of the Air Force and the CIA.
That's right, Huel.
And it's right here, a little bit of California, a little bit of CIA California here in Tucson. Well, there are other things to see in Tucson, aren't there? I mean, other than things connected to, you know, we went to the Titan Missile site, we went to the Boneyard, we've been here. We did go to the old mission, but isn't there an old town, an old western town
Yeah,
here?
there's Old Tucson Studios, which actually used to be a soundstage, and there's also Saguaro National Park and even the Desert Museum, which is fabulous.
Yeah, we've heard about all those things. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to see them because the whole point of this tour was kind of an aircraft aerospace kind of a tour, and I think we hit a home run, don't you?
I sure do think so.
You couldn't come to a better place than Tucson for a tour of aircraft and missiles and everything that goes along with them. We have had an absolutely wonderful time. We'll be back for a longer tour, but this has been good.
Thank you, Huel.
This has been we have jam-packed a lot into 2 days. We've seen a lot of airplanes, learned a lot of history here in Tucson on this road trip, and now we're heading back to California. Well, hello everybody, I'm Huel Hauser, and I sure hope you enjoyed our road trip to Tucson. It's a great place to visit. If you'd like to go on this adventure again or share it with your family and friends, it's available on video cassette and on DVD. All you have to do is call 1-800-266-5727, and we'll be glad to send it to you right away.
Road Trip with Huel Hauser has been made possible by the Automobile Club of Southern California.
Wherever you're headed on your next road trip, the Auto Club knows the territory. For travel tips or comprehensive destination information, as well as booking your next family vacation, our website is a great first stop on any journey, no matter how far away your destination may be. Through all life's travels, we're always with you.